Welcome back to House Guest with me, Hailey Fennel. I'm a psychic medium, and this is the podcast that connects you to the other side. You are about to listen to an episode with Brady. Thank you so much for being on, and thank you for sharing your loved ones with me from the other side. You'll hear this again at the end, but please go follow her at one-on-one matchmaking on Instagram or go to oneonOnematchmaking.com. She's a part of a dating service. How cool is that? And she is also a stylist, so make sure to check her out. And then I also mentioned my sister at the end, which is a little bit of a funny story. At some point on Instagram, people started to realize that Elise Lowe Bauman and I are sisters. It's true. So if you're in Atlanta and you know Elise, please give her a hug for me. You can follow her at Lowe Bauman Real Estate on Instagram. She's a part of the Sotheby's team out of Atlanta. So again, thank you, Brady, for being on, and thank you for being a part of this research study through the College of Charleston. I truly appreciate it. If you are looking to be a part of the research, I don't have open spots right now, but if you follow House Guest, you will be the first to find out. This is where I will open up spots before I open them up anywhere else. So please like, subscribe, follow, send to a friend. This is your sign that the first person that pops into your head is the person that needs to hear it. A part of the goals of the podcast is to help people connect in for themselves. And I am doing such a better job of being incredibly transparent with exactly how I do this on the podcast. So you'll hear like tips and tricks. And if you watch it on YouTube, you can kind of see what I'm doing with my hands, because the way I feel into my body is one of my main ways of connecting in. I hope that you guys enjoy. Again, thank you, Brady. And thank you for being so brave and sharing everything that you shared with us, because you did. It's going to help so many other people. And I know that you guys are going to absolutely love this one. I am sitting with Brady. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
And Brady is one of our brave participants that is being a part of the research study done through the College of Charleston with Dr. Beth Sundstrom and Dr. Melinda Rothaus. And so this is going to be just like any other reading I give. There's a lot of people that come see me in person and a lot of people that come see me virtually. It works very, very much the same way. And there's a lot of people that listen to the podcast that are kind of learning how to connect in for themselves, either because they do what I do, psychic mediumship, or they do something similar, or, and I always like to point this out and say this, there's nothing that I'm doing that you can't do for yourself. So I do have a good amount of people that listen just to connect in for themselves. But thank you so much for being here, and I can't wait to jump into our reading.
Likewise. Thank you, Hailey.
You're welcome. Okay, so you'll notice a few things. I'm going to close my eyes a lot. I'm not totally aware that I'm doing it. And we'll do a little breathing exercise in the beginning where you can close your eyes too if you want, but it works either way, open or closed. And I already told you this part, but you'll see me looking down. It's because I kind of scribble and take notes-ish. It looks more like drawings. I can always snap a picture of that and send it to you via email if you remind me. I do that for my normal, regular clients that are not on the podcast all the time. And let's see if there's anything else. What I do is I'm going to connect in. Have you ever had a reading before, Brady?
I have not. No.
Okay, cool. So you're going to see me connect in, which is usually me closing my eyes. I kind of talk with my hands a lot, and I have been trying to be more transparent, like even with my private readings, with like what that is, because you can always borrow what I'm doing for yourself. So you'll see me talk with my hands a lot. But what happens is I'm pulling forward someone who has passed away and is on the other side. And as they come closer, I'll start talking about them. The reason that they're here is because they have messages for you. So as soon as I kind of get to know who they are, even just a little bit, they'll jump into a message for you because they want to talk about you and they want to answer your questions. And then you'll hear me say a funny part, which is, do you have any questions for this person? And you are welcome to ask anything and everything, even if it's something that you don't think they would know about or don't think they could answer, would have answered in life or would have been interested in life. They see, hear, and know everything when they're on the other side. So they're able to answer those questions. So just try to be as brave as you can in those moments. This time is like really, really, truly meant for you, for your own soul, for you to get some of that clarity that you've been searching for. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I love that.
Okay. Do you have any questions for me before we jump in there?
Um, no,
Okay,
no.
cool. Perfect. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close my eyes. You can close your eyes too for a little bit if you want. It's only going to be about a minute long. I'm going to do a little breathing exercise. You can also leave your eyes open. It works either way. And just start taking a few really good deep breaths. And just start to imagine that we're meeting in a really big, wide open field, but we're gathered in quite close. It's warm and sunny and comfortable. And then imagine that anyone and everyone you know who has passed away and is on the other side is there. And just take a big deep breath and imagine them coming closer and closer. Imagine what it feels like to have them come around you. Imagine that they see, hear, and know you, no matter how long or short it's been since their passing. Imagine how much they love you. And then just imagine them coming a little bit closer and a little bit closer. You might even start to feel them in the room with you. You might even feel them become one with you, or just be right beside you. And then take a big deep breath. And just imagine them coming even a little bit closer. And then one more big deep breath. And you can open your eyes when you want. I'm going to open mine too. I'm just going to write down a few things. Okay, that'll be good. There's like a few different people that kind of like, this is shining, shimmering. It's become a little bit of a sign symbol for me, like of guides, but guides that we know of, like guides that we would have had. So ancestors, family members, people that we would have had experience with in life start trickling in. And you can keep your eyes open, but I'm just gonna close my eyes one more time. I'm just gonna hone in, feel into who they are. That'll be good. Okay. Okay. Okay, so I get this is, I know you can't quite see my hands all the way, but so I'm going to put it a little bit closer just for a second. I get these people that go like this. Usually when I get people that come in at angles over my shoulders, it means grandparents to me that are on the other side. And so I get one on mom's side of the family and one on dad's side of the family. To me, this feels a little bit like grandmother. So mom's mom that's on the other side. And then this feels like, I think dad's dad that's on the other side. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm fine. I'm gonna do that too. And then also someone that's with dad's dad that like wants to hold on to my energy.
My
Um,
brother, I think.
okay. This I'm gonna show you. I'd written down sibling
Mhm.
on this is gut. Where is it? Gut. There we go. It's part always means sibling to me. Like I get a gut check. And I don't know why, but people can borrow that from me of like, how do I connect in to this like other energy? It's like someone that's like so, so close. It's like they just share like a similar timeline to us. They share a similar generation to us, and they're like right there in our gut, which would be sibling to me.
Yeah.
So there's that right there. And it feels really, really good. I just want to let you know that.
Thank
Um,
you.
the, yeah, these circles that are on the piece of paper are always people as well. Just so that like when you see a picture of that, you know that. Okay, Lily, hold on. Dad's dad. Dad's mom. Okay. And we're going to get to brother, I promise. Like he's going to come
That's
in
okay. No, this
and
is
be like,
cool.
right here. He's going to like move into my heart area. But this is what I want to say. Like, I actually think we're going to technically be starting with them. But what I want to say about grandparents is they're like the door opener. I've said this on the podcast before. Sometimes usually it's actually just one person that like opens the door for other people to come in and they just want to say something really, really quickly. But I just want to let you know that these like two really important people in your life are there too, like dad's dad and mom's mom, and there could be other grandparents on the other side too. I just haven't quite tapped into them yet. But those two people are like, this is going to sound a little bit funny, Brady, but we want to let Brady know that she's the face of the operations. Does that make sense to you? Like, I think I'm talking about career here. Like, she's the face of the operations. So maybe even just write that down. And you probably saw that when I showed you that piece of paper. It's like this initial feeling that they are trying to get me to interpret. And I think they're going to get into it even more. But they're like full permission to go with this person, which has become brother for me. Like, let's go with this person. Are you okay if I connect in with brother first and just like ask him to come a little bit closer? Okay. That's him going like this, like, I'm here. Let's do it. Let's go. He gets a little bit funny, cheeky to me. I've used that word on the podcast before. Cheeky is more of like an Australian term. But he uses it all of a sudden of like, I'm just a little bit like quirky or cheesy funny. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Okay. But lovely. He also calls himself lovely, and I want to let Brady know that like I'm okay and I'm like looking good. Not that he's like being too egotistical or anything, but he's like, I look good, I'm okay. I'm like, this is all good on the other side. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, that's really good to hear.
Yeah. And he's just like, I love you. I love you. Do you understand? Like, I know that you're siblings, so there's like a natural closeness there. He's like, but Brady and I were like really close. Like, we were kind of, even maybe in a joking way, he kind of says like teamed up against parents or like we're the team. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
It feels really good. He's like, we would want to play pranks on them or tricks on them or like it's us against them. But he does it in this lighthearted way of like, isn't that funny? Is how he puts it. Yeah.
It is. So we did do that, and always out of funniness and like,
Yeah.
love.
Yeah. That's why he's like, it makes him like really bright and shiny and glowy and smiley. And he was like, wasn't that so funny? Like, we were just so funny. Like, he got a big kick out of that. Okay. Lovely. Good. He comes in like a little boy for me. It's okay if he passed away when he was like older, because he's like, then there's like this when I'm older. But he comes in with this like little boy energy, just to let you know. Like that's kind of who I am on the other side. And I come in more with this like innocence and more around this time where we could be more playful with his memory. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Because he's like, when I get older is when I get like a little less playful. Does that make sense to you? Or like my attitude changes, my mood changes. That you see me doing it, but he's like, I kind of get down on myself or I'm down here. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's like, but there he goes. When we're connecting in with me, we're connecting in with this like younger, almost like 7-year-old little boy energy for me. I'm going to be really transparent about this. I have an 8-year-old who just turned 8, so I keep thinking of him as 7. So it's really easy for me to like connect in with that little boy energy. So anyone that's practicing this, that's listening to this podcast, what the other side is doing for me is they're using like the quickest, easiest reference for me to get to talk about it as quickly as I can so that they can get to all the information that they want to talk about in this reading. And so they had me like tap into my son's energy just to talk about your brother's energy around that age. And I know that's a little bit abstract, but I just say that because you too can be like, okay, so what was my brother like when we were younger? And like, okay, I can remember like this little thing about him and this little story about him and how much fun we had together. Even how we like teased each other, even the times that we didn't get along, right? But like, gosh, how much we just like had this natural love for each other being sister and brother. And you can tap into that. And what that's going to do is help you feel into him even more. And then you yourself are going to be able to get like some of the messages that are coming across today, or even like the new messages that can come across later. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's cool.
And he just says that, he also says that because, look, if we think of me as like when I get older, it's this different sort of energy where I was unkind to myself, is how he puts it. So he's like, so when we tap into that energy, it's just not where the messages are coming from. It's okay to tap into it. He's like, I'm there just the same, but it's just not where you're going to hear my messages from. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Hold on. He's going to come in a little bit closer. He just goes like this, which is like, hey, let me come in a little bit closer now. Mm-hmm. Do you understand though that towards end of life, he's like, what kind of puts me in like these different moods feels like an illness or like I'm not feeling so good. Does that make sense to you? It feels a little bit outside of his control, is how he puts it. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
it does, but it doesn't, because there's like some things that we'll never know.
Yeah. That's okay. And we can maybe ask some of those questions in a little bit.
It seems like he's coming into that, though. I mean,
yeah. He goes like this for me, like, because I'm going to be transparent with you. I just asked him kind of lightly. I was like, do you want to bring up the ways in which you passed or the way in which you passed? And he was like, I want to let her know that my mood was, sometimes they don't answer it, right? Sometimes they're like, I'm going to talk about the thing that I want to talk about. He goes, I want to let her know that like my mood was a little bit out of my control. Like, there was something about it or something about like how I felt that I felt like I couldn't fix or I couldn't get myself out of. And he gives me a bit of our tornado. And when I get our tornado, usually what I'm talking about is someone that either gets involved with alcohol or drugs and then also has like a mood disorder or a mental health disorder. Does that make sense to you? Yeah. And so he's like, then it creates a bit of like a tornado that in some sense we could be like, well, like, had we gotten the right sort of help, could it have helped? Could it have been fixed? And he's like, that's not, he kind of puts up a block between that. He's like, it's not exactly what we're talking about. So I know that I'm close, like in what I'm talking about with the tornado, but I also know that I'm not quite spot on. Like, he's like, it's not something that I could have helped. It's not something that I asked to get help for. It's not something that people notice to get help for, but I do kind of create this thing that then gets out of control. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Okay. And so he's like, I want to say that I'm sorry for it. And he's like, and I am, especially from the other side. He's like, but people can also see that in life, they'd be like, it's okay. Like, you don't have to say sorry, or there's no real reason to say sorry. Like, we understand and we get it and we love you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any questions around that?
I guess when you tell me these things, should I go into greater detail?
Yeah, at this point you can, for sure. Yeah.
So the swirling thing, the tornado, it's really interesting about the little boy behavior and the tornado, because around when he was about 8, 3rd grade, he was 8, and they started diagnosing him with ADHD and then all these different things. And it was almost like he was like a rab lab for like little boys and behavioral medicine. And then nothing helped, and he started acting out, and then they would put him on a stronger medication. And then he got sent to like a wilderness school in high school, and then a program after that. And so I know for the longest time, I mean, he definitely used marijuana, alcohol, mushrooms, but maybe he got in a car wreck and died. So also, and we do know that he was at one bar right before, and he had 2 drinks. So, I mean, but this whole tornado thing you're feeling, it feels real, because it's like this mental health thing that was trying to be diagnosed for so long that took a weird spin and then led him to like becoming more rebellious. But then in his adult life, he he was really great in trying to go back and help out younger kids like himself.
Yeah.
Um, so, and then sometimes, I don't know if I should say this or not, sometimes I wonder, like, he did get the COVID vaccine and he was like the perfect age demographic human to like have maybe a reverse effect, like a heart situation or something. I don't know. I mean, I really
Yeah.
don't. He's gone. So there's,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can't
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, like, thank you so much for sharing that. And I think it's totally okay to question if that was a part of it, right? And your intuition around it is going to be so much more important than mine. So when I say like the tornado thing and you're like, gosh, like there's a few things that drop in. I'm like, oh, there's probably no coincidence that I said 7 instead of 8. So it's like there's this memory of 7 and before and then life after. Like 8 on is like a different brother, like a different connection there. Not that we can't connect in with him from the memories of 8 on, but it just might be easier at first from the memories 7 before, is how he puts it. He's like, and then this tornado. So even though what I was saying was like, oh, this tornado, and it's giving me these sort of references, and it just would make me naturally think of like an older male. He's like, gosh, it started at like such a young age. I mean, that's like teeny tiny, right? I think that those are all beautiful things to bring up, that our society has, he says, fine, lovely, good. He goes, our society has changed a little bit. Like it's gotten a little bit better. When we talk about like medication and like experimenting with things like that, right? He's like, but, and then he goes, but how can we make it better? Correct me if I'm hearing you right. Was he trying to, you said helping little kids, and all of a sudden he made it click in my mind, but was it more like helping more awareness around that?
Well, he went into teaching and he became the dean of discipline, which we all find hysterical
I
because
love it.
he sat in their office so many times. And he said that he felt he never was able to be heard. So
Yeah.
he wanted to be that adult in a child's life that it would be a sounding board, a safe place to be heard.
Oh, I love that so much. What a beautiful mission. Okay, hold on. Mm. I like that. And he's like, what I was doing, I was like, gosh, like that would have been like, of course, naturally, like we would all love him to still be here, right? Like I wish he was still doing that, like physically here in life. He just goes, right? Like I was doing a really good job of that. He's like, I was really, really proud of that. He goes, I get to do even more of it now that I'm on the other side. Like really get to be around and like protecting um young children in life and making sure that they feel loved, seen, heard, even if it's by like people outside or inside the family in different avenues and different ways. He's like, I'm getting in there. He's like, I get to do even more of that now that I'm on the other side, is how he puts it. He does talk about getting the ball rolling though. He's like, I kind of refuse to like just sit still and like and just be like, well, like he's not the type of person to let someone else handle it. He's like, let me get in there. Let me get this ball rolling. Let me get like these changes in the world that I needed to set in motion. Does that make sense to you? He makes it feel bigger than just the job you're talking about. Like he did more than I think we're even currently able to know about, but that I think might come trickling in. Quite possibly. And if it hasn't happened already, that's okay. But quite possibly like stories from parents or other kids that he really, truly did help. Does that make sense to you?
It does. And he taught everyone his whole life. My
Mm-hmm.
dad said in his eulogy to Ben that he was the first kid, so he taught them how to become parents. And then he
Yeah.
was always teaching somebody, even at a young age. Like his whole life, he has been teaching someone
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. He's like, so that's me on the other side. He brought this up a second ago and I didn't quite catch on to it. And he's laughing at me. He's like, you got to catch on to this one thing. I'm gonna forget who it is, and I might have to look it up after this saint. Like the patron saint of children. I hope I'm saying that right. Patron saint of children. Like Saint Francis of Assisi is the patron saint of animals. I wonder if he's also the patron saint of children. Um, Not that I know all that much about saints, but occasionally they do pop up in readings, and I'm gonna say why for the greater audience. Occasionally that pops up in readings because I'm kind of sort of somewhat familiar with it. Like if I were to think of like guardian angels and things on the other side, I grew up Episcopalian, and so there's like some sort of subconscious memory that I've like held on to in there with these saints that occasionally come up in readings. Now, whether I want to still call them saints or not, there's like so many other religions I could tap into and find that perfect fit as well. Does that make sense? Where I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, it could be this Christian reference that I'm making. It could be this other reference that I could make if I knew more about it. My personal religious preference right now is just anything and everything, really, truly. But your brother brings that up in my frame of reference just to get me to start talking about it because that's how he feels on the other side. He's like, I am this helper of children. Like, that gets to be my big time job over here. And he's like, and it feels really, really, really good. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any questions around that?
No, I also am a mom, and I'm a divorced mom, and I have a almost 8-year-old daughter, almost 7-year-old boy.
Oh,
And
congratulations. Love that.
thank you, before my brother passed, and while I was going through the divorce, he was with me physically in Atlanta. He would come often and check on me. We would go to live music. Like, he would just get me to think outside the box and like let go of all the things. And I have just really been worried about my daughter's like just behavior almost for
Yeah,
the past years.
that's
And she
okay.
lost someone she was very close to, a male, and saw her cousins lose their dad. And then I'm just struggling with her. And it just all kind of circles back to like him saying 7. And that's
Yeah.
how old she is. And then him saying like he's still helping. And I just feel like I need his help and I want his help.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, it's like, I love it in this sense of like, that's how you're wanting to like connect in with him and that's how it's coming across. He's like, because exactly, exactly, exactly. Like, there's a little bit of him more saying like, I love it. Like, I'm there. Like, I love you. I love her. I love son, of course. Do you even see a bit of a likeness between actually daughter and him? Like, not just because of the age, but um,
Yeah.
like a like a personality, a likeness sort of thing.
Yeah. They're both cheeky and like love to be the
Love it.
like happy, funny, even if causes mischief, but still like lighthearted. Like, yeah, I see that.
Yeah, I like it. But then what he does for me really quick is he shows me daughter like, this is a funny is he just means it as a reference, like crossing her legs and getting kind of like proper all of a sudden and being a little bit princessy isn't the right word, but like, and I'm in more queen, like I'm in charge sort of thing. Does that make
Sassy.
sense?
Yeah.
I love it. That's good, good, good. He's like, isn't that
That's
fun? Like, she's more in charge. Like, she has more autonomy over who she is than he had, is how he puts it. Like, she has a real sense of being and placement in the world, whereas he felt, I think, a little bit lost in that, of like, was a little bit up in the air for a while until he landed on helping children, right? And he's like, but that was on purpose. Like, I got this wide array of experience of people not listening to me so that then I could be a listener later in life. But he points to daughter and is like, she has a real sense of purpose in life. And so I understand everything that you just said. And what I was doing was like trying to answer that, but I'm just gonna let him go into like whatever direction he needs to go into. And he does want to talk about her. And lovely, good, good, good. Okay, lovely, good. And he's like, and even though it's other side of the family, of course, can help with like cousins as well. Like, I'm there for all kids, like all the things. Okay, lovely, good, good, good. Hmm. Okay. He goes, I don't need to help her with this, but I am there for it. She actually feels quite empowered quite often. Like she has like a voice to her where she knows how to stand up for people. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Where it's like, I'm going to tell you what's right and wrong, and I'm going to point it out to you, maybe even beyond the typical sense of a 7-year-old, like a sense of balance and justice more so than other 7-year-olds would typically understand. Does that make sense to you?
Does. Yeah.
And like her being able to vocalize that over the years is going to be one of her strong points, is what he says. Like, and he says, lovely good. And he's like, when you're such a good listener, like, don't worry if other people in her life aren't as good of listeners. Like, she has you. No worries. Like, and she'll have some other teachers along the way too. But I love the good. He calls you one of her teachers. I know you're her mom, and like naturally there's like some sense of teacher in that and being mom, but he means it on like a deeper level. Like she's really looking up to you. Fine, I'm gonna get to that. And he says that there's something that you're currently the face of, like head of, face of, that she's really looking up to. It feels career wise to me, where it's like we're talking about putting like our face forward in career. I know that sounds a little bit funny, head of in career. Does that
Well,
make sense to you?
yeah, it does. I mean, I'm a matchmaker. I work for a matchmaking firm in Atlanta, and I'm the stylist. So,
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah. There's something with like daughter's soul that's like, and whatever she take, I think what she's going to take from that will probably turn into a slightly different career, like in reality, but there's something with that. Hold on. I'm going to sink into, he just says, brother just says to pay attention to him real quick. Oh, okay, fine. There we go. He says, but the age of 7 is really important for her. That this is like you said that she's 7 right now, right?
she is right now. Yeah.
Okay. That this is typically the age where this is actually fine. There we go. I just gave this reading for a group for this think tank event that Carter Dandridge of the Pilates House puts on. And we had an astrologer come, and the astrologer was talking about this. I'm just trying to give credit where credit's due because I am not an astrologer. But she was talking about, and it just like literally came flooding back in, which will happen in readings every once in a while. Lovely good. She just came in to that event talking about 7s and specifically around ages like the age of 7 and then the age of 14. And I'm interpreting this as best as I can, but my interpretation of that was every 7 years, we tend to have these like big events or big identity shifters. So like around the age of 7, we will actually start to have a sense of what, fine, there we go. Hold on, I gotta write that part down. Sure. Around the age of 7, we'll have a greater sense of what death is. Like we get that people and things are not always permanent. And so sometimes I have had something like significant happen around that age. It's not always death, so I don't want to scare people. Like it really truly isn't. It could even be like something from before that makes us realize that things are impermanent around the age of 7. So your brother brings that up, but he also brings up 7 is also the age where we tend to stop talking about, if we ever did, our past lives. There's also like a scientific thing with this where there's a part of our brain that's forming around the age of 7 where we see things more for the reality of things. And then whereas before, occasionally we'll have kids that talk about past lives or ghosts or things that in our analytical minds are like, what are you talking about? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Did your daughter ever talk about or have a sense of talking about a past life like a few years ago? Does that make sense to you?
It does. The question makes sense.
And that's okay if you're like, I can't quite picture.
I'm
what I'm
not like pinpointing an exact conversation or scenario that I can remember, but I also share 50-50 custody. So it's like it could have happened.
Yeah, and I mean, she would have like told you about it, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a past life. And see, I hear it in my voice too. I'm like, like what is brother trying to get me to talk about? Lovely, good. The point is, that's from him. He's like, the point is that 7 is just a very, very pivotal age for her. Like, she just happens to be one of those people where like it's lining up. And so he's also like around the age of 14, she'll also like shift again. He goes, here's the important part. It's always for the better for her. Like, even though these very traumatic things have happened, and like I know that you're going to be there for her. And she actually has like a very good team of people both here in life and on the other side that are going to help her through it. He's like, she's going to be okay. It's something that she's taking in like more deeply than others because she's just a big feeler, is how he puts it. And I can understand that son like has emotions about it too, but she's like really taking it in and maybe even has more of a reaction around it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And he's like, but she's going to be okay. Lovely, good. He just said, he goes like this to me, and he says, a seer. Like, she's also a seer, meaning someone similar to me. Someone that has like a bit of a psychic ability, doors that are a little bit more open. And just to be clear, like, we're supposed to have some doors closed and some doors open, and then over life on purpose, for our life's purpose, some doors get completely closed. Like, not everybody is meant to tap in this way. And then some people start to open them again. She's going to be one of those people a little bit more like me, where doors just stay open for her. Like, she'll always kind of have this ability. Not that she needs to pinpoint it or do anything with it, but she just will. So she might have more questions around this sort of thing than other people. Does that make sense?
100%.
Okay.
He has been that way since she was an infant. I mean,
Yeah.
her EQ is really high, just like
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. And that's just gonna, he's like, that's just gonna be her. Like, it's one of her, if one of his superpowers later in life was helping children, her superpower is being realized right now, is having the ability to connect in with people emotionally. Even though it's hard sometimes, but she's got like a great people here in life and on the other side that are going to help her with it. And he'll be one of them for sure. Do you have any questions around that?
I don't.
Yeah. He goes like this, big love to sweet son. Like, he calls him like a muffin. That's what I call my son too. But like, he's like, oh, like he's like a muffin. And like a really, really just like a sweet, snuggly guy. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Just like a, really, really cute. Lovely. Good, good, good. Do you understand something around flag football or football with him?
Yeah. I mean, he went to CFC, so and my brother and other brother and I went to Ole Miss, and we love Ole Miss football.
Sorry. I mean, with your son. That was unclear. That was on my half.
Okay, well, I think he is playing flag football in the fall, so.
Okay, but your brother brings it up though, to be clear, and is like because he's like, oh, he's such a muffin, but wait until he starts playing football or flag football, he's gonna get in there. That's what it feels like. Like, can be in the most appropriate sports way, aggressive, like how you're supposed to be when you're playing sports, like a bit of a competitive soul.
Yeah,
is what he says. This is funny. This is always money for me. And your brother just made me do it. And so that competitiveness in son is what's going to be this later, like money later. Okay, Brady, do you also understand that there's a bit of competitive, like, it's a great thing, a competitiveness with you too. Like, that's what brings out the best. He truly means this. That's what brings out the best in Brady. That competitive spirit has also turned into like the most beautiful way to empower yourself and to energetically gain more wealth, is how he puts it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. And so if at any point you're ever like, gosh, am I being too competitive? The answer is always no.
No.
Like, you just feel the complete freedom to go for it because it's a part of your soul that we're meant to pay attention to. Not everyone, like some people get this money in different ways, but he's just pointing out like a little part of like, let's honor that. Let's like allow ourselves to get into it. Does that make
I
sense?
appreciate that because I am not competitive. Like I can be,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
positive when I am, but like I'm pretty easygoing.
I love it. And you can be like competitive in your head in your own ways without being outwardly competitive, right? But maybe just like you kind of just said it a second ago, like when you are, it works out, right?
Yeah.
So maybe just like allow yourself the next time you feel like, ooh, I'm feeling a little bit competitive like that. And instead of being like, well, gosh, I'm just going to be like laid back, like lean into it a little bit more because you're always going to be seen as like kind and creative, he says. But like that competitiveness could, and it could just something within yourself. Like it doesn't literally have to mean winning or beating someone, but it's going to like help drive you forward a little bit more and to know that you're allowed to own that, allowed to be that when you feel it coming. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I love that.
Do you have any other questions for me?
I don't. I mean, it's been really amazing.
Yeah, you're so welcome. I have loved giving this reading and I've loved connecting in with your brother. He feels really good for me to connect in with on the other side. Like such an easy person to just kind of step in. And I just want to say, what he does for me for you is he just sits like right beside you. And I heard you a second ago say that you have another brother too. And of course he's there for other sibling too. Sometimes we just have different ways of connecting into the other side, even if we don't know it. But one of your brother's ways for you is to kind of like sit with you and be with you. And if you ever feel like a hug coming in, especially on your shoulder, it's a bit of him like taking it in.
Thank you.
Hey, just fun. You're welcome. Brady, can we shout out your business if you would like?
Yeah.
Okay, will you tell us about what you do and how to find you and where to follow you?
Yeah. My name is Brady, and I am the stylist and image consultant for one-on-one matchmaking. It's oneonOnematchmaking.com in Atlanta, Georgia. And you can follow us on One-on-One Matchmaking on Instagram.
Oh, okay. I'm writing that down. You mentioned Atlanta. Do you know my sister, Elise Bauman?
I
know
don't
that's a random
think so.
question.
Well, if she has kids, then there is a chance.
She does, but yours are like just like a little bit younger than hers. She's a real estate agent.
Yes, I see her all the time.
Yeah, Elise and her partner is Kyle, so Elise Lowe Bauman.
Yeah,
and I didn't know for a second. I was like, ooh, because someone I posted about her the other day on my Instagram, and then she like reposted it, and I didn't know if you were one of these people. Multiple people reached out to them that know us separately and didn't realize we were sisters. So I don't know. It's just like, oh my gosh, it's just like one of those.
I didn't know that. That's funny. That's awesome.
But I love that you're in Atlanta. I'm actually there quite often well, it's been a while, but I need to go back, but quite often to visit my nephews.
I would love to see you in person.
Done. We're actually, this will be like a secret announcement. So anyone that is listening to House Guest will be the first to know right now. I'm going to have 2 events coming up there really soon. So I'll be sure to put you on the email list.
Okay. Thanks, Hailey.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Brady. And everybody go follow oneonOnematchmaking.com and then on Instagram at oneonOnematchmaking, right?
Yep.
Okay, good. And that's out of Atlanta, but I'm sure they can help you even if you're not there.
We have clients in Charleston.
Oh, I love it. All my Charleston friends, you got to reach out right now. Thank you, Brady. I really appreciate it.
Likewise. Thank you, Hailey.
Thank you guys for tuning in. And thank you, Brady, again. Again, you guys can follow her at One-on-One Matchmaking on Instagram or oneonOnematchmaking.com. They do more dating services than just Atlanta. So please feel free to check them out. And then you can also follow my sister at Lowe Bauman Real Estate on Instagram or find their listings through Sotheby's. She's kind of a big deal. Love you, Elise. And thank you guys for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, share with a friend. I would really, really, truly appreciate it. And keep tuning in to hear about more spots opening up for the research study. I hope that you guys enjoy.